Unitarian Universalist Church, building community, inspiring growth, creating change. Here in the heart of Kansas City, we come together to create this hour of shared reflection so that we might be renewed in courage for these times and inspired to lives of greater dignity, higher purpose, deeper generosity, and more effective action. May the words and music and images that we offer today nourish our best selves, calling forth abundant wisdom and love, a love that has the power to overcome both loneliness in the heart and oppression in the world. Welcome to our service.
My friends, my church, my beloved community, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Joseph Davis, and I'm a member of All Souls. And whether you are here in the room or watching online today, we're so glad you're here. Your presence enriches all of us and our time together. We are a Unitarian Universalist congregation, and our tradition is a large tent with room for many beliefs and approaches to the questions that matter. It is our values of inclusion, compassion, and justice that hold us together. We seek to build the beloved community. We make room for everyone, and we create a world where everyone's needs are met. If you are new here this morning, welcome. We know that your first time attending a church, you may want to keep a low profile or just check things out quietly. That's great, and we're glad you're here. And if you are a visitor and are excited to be here and want to let us know that you are, we invite you to raise your hand at this time. As they say in the hood, party people in the house. We thank you for enriching us with your presence today. Whoever you are and whomever you love, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. Whether you come with laughter in your heart or tears, you are welcome here. You are invited to join us with an open mind, a loving heart, and willing hands. We welcome you today.
welcome our guest preacher this morning, the Reverend Meg Riley. A lifelong Unitarian Universalist, she was raised in congregations in Charleston, West Virginia, and Akron, Ohio. After serving for 38 years as a religious professional in a variety of capacities, and the key word is variety, Reverend Riley retired in the summer of 2020. She now serves with Charles Dumond as co-moderator of the Unitarian Universalist Association. Welcome, Meg. And there was a paragraph break I wasn't expecting. I will tell you more about Meg. She lives in Minneapolis, nestled in with her family, animals, gardens, deep friendships, and a vibrant activist community. She is also the editor of Testimony, The Transformative Power of Unitarian Universalism. And we welcome the Reverend Rose Schwab, the minister at Shawnee Mission UU Church over in Kansas, who will share the readings. And with tremendous gratitude, we welcome our guest musician, Daniel Doss. He is the music director at Shawnee Mission, and prior to holding that position, we enjoyed his music leadership many times when Anthony was away. Anthony has returned home from the hospital, and he still has significant recovery from his fall ahead of him. He is utterly heartbroken to not even be able to be here this morning. At this celebration for Reverend Kendyl is so important to him, but he is watching at home and sending all of his love and well wishes. So Daniel kindly offered to lead the music for this very special service, so thank you. And also thank you to Reverend Rose and the Shawnee Mission Church for making it possible for him to be here. Tomorrow is Memorial Day, the day set aside to honor all of those people who have died in service to our nation. These deaths over the centuries are honorable deaths, for those of our nation served all of us, willingly or unwillingly, volunteers or drafts. They served our country and died, giving everything for our nation. Let us honor their sacrifice, whether we believe that their deaths were righteous or in vain. They died. Their families forever mourn their loss. And for this day, we mourn fully with them. For this day, we remember our honored fallen. Yesterday was the 45th anniversary of the Reverend Dr. Kendyl Gibbons' ordination. She has served our faith for 45 years. She has served 3 congregations, the DuPage UU Church in Naperville, Illinois, the First Unitarian Society in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and the last 13 years here at All Souls. Kendyl has supervised the internships of 27 ministers, starting in 1986. Some of those previous students and interns are here today, including me, and AJ, and Lisa, and Michael, and Rose, and others will join us for tomorrow evening's banquet. And she became one of the greatest scholars and preachers of humanism in Unitarian Universalism. The entirety of Unitarian Universalism has gained so much from Kendyl. I have heard so many of you speak about how lucky you have been that she came here to All Souls to be your minister. We are truly honored by her presence and ministry. And today, we celebrate all that she has given us. We celebrate our relationships with her. We celebrate the laughter, the joy, and the poignant moments. We celebrate this wonderful minister's long career, serving all of us as she moves away from the tremendous responsibilities and into retirement. Let us celebrate and worship together.
Our chalice lighting are the words by the Reverend Michelle Collins. We light this chalice, a spark in the darkness, kindling, kindling, K-I-N-D-L-I-N-G, the embers of our imagination within us. I needed that. May its flame ignite wonder, fuel dreams of justice, and illuminate the path toward what could be. And together as we affirm our covenant. Goodwill is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
It's me. Hi. I'd like to invite our young people in the crowd today up front with me for a story time. Come on down. Hi, Byron. You can have a seat right up here. Hi, friends. Come on down. We're going to read a book. Yes, in just a moment. Good morning. Today I want to ask you, has anybody here ever experienced a big change? You have, Jude? What happened?
I couldn't snap, but then after years of practicing, I could snap.
Okay, Jude couldn't snap for the longest time. He tried for years, and then it changed and he could. Wow. Yeah. Okay, that seems like a lot of people have that change. Okay, well, good. We're going to talk about some even bigger changes today, okay? Change sometimes feels a little exciting, doesn't it? And hopeful, but sometimes it can also feel a little confusing or sad, and that's okay. Guess what? Those are all normal feelings about change. And the reason I bring this up today is because today marks a very unique kind of change in our church. Reverend Kendyl, who's right behind you here, she's been a part of our church family for 13 years. Some of you aren't even 13 years old, right? Right, long time. She's been teaching us and challenging us and listening to us and guiding us. And she's been a dedicated and caring presence through so many seasons of our congregation's journey. And today we're honoring her retirement. Who remembers what retirement means? We've talked about this. Yeah, go ahead, Fiona.
They're finished with their job?
Yeah, their job's kind of finished, right? Yeah, they're not going to go to work. Yeah? Yeah, yeah, they get to go home and rest a little bit, right? That's exciting. You all got it right on. So yeah, today marks, yeah. Yeah. You guys have a good handle on this. Yes, good job. Hold your thoughts. We're gonna keep going. Okay. Let's see. So today marks the end of her very, very special career, and but it's also the end of something. Doesn't necessarily mean, or doesn't mean at all, actually, that it's the end of knowing her love for us, or it doesn't mean the end of our memories with her will disappear. That's right. So the book I'm going to read to you is just about that. The end is actually just the beginning. Okay, are you all ready for this? Okay. I only have one hand, so I'm not going to hold the book up. I'm just going to go off the slides. Here we go. The end. That's right. You read it correctly. You've reached the end and the beginning. Thank you. But wait, how can a book possibly start with the end? That's ridiculous. Well, prepare to have your mind blown, because the end isn't really the end. It's just the beginning of something else. Like this beautiful sunset. Sure, it seems like the end of day, right? Not so fast. You see, when the sun goes down, it's actually just the beginning of the night. The snow melts at the end of winter, and that just means the beginning of spring. Yeah. If you try to go to the ends of the earth, you'll actually just keep going back to the beginning, because the earth is one big circle. Yeah. If you blast off in a rocket ship, you'll reach the end of the sky, otherwise known as the beginning of outer space. Right. You guys get this. When you count, the end of one number is just the beginning of the next number, and so on, and so on, and so on, all the way to infinity, which, by the way, never ends. Even a sign that literally says, dead end, isn't an end at all. It's only just the beginning of whatever lies beyond it. So when you really think about it, the end is entirely endless. The end of a disagreement with someone is just the beginning of making up. The end of a mistake is just the beginning of learning something new. The end of being sick is just the beginning of feeling better. The end of dinner is just the beginning of dessert. And if you've behaved really well, the end of dessert might just be the beginning of more dessert. Right? So tonight, when you turn off your lights and you go to bed, don't think of it as the end of anything. Just think of it as the beginning of a new, tomorrow, full of possibilities. The beginning. That's good, isn't it? Stay right here. Thank you. So what does our story have to say about endings? Yeah. Nothing can end. Right. That's a good example. Okay, good, right. It reminds us that when something ends, something else begins. And retirement isn't the end of Reverend Kendyl's story or our church's story. For Reverend Kendyl, it's just the beginning of new days filled with rest and discovery and joy and relief from the responsibilities here. Yeah, and for our church, we're beginning a new chapter too, one where we carry forward all the things we love and learned from her and all the things, all the things we love about her. And it's a time when we commit ourselves to continue to grow in new ways. And now, Reverend Kendyl, we have something special to share with you. All the children have been making cards for your retirement. And do I have a volunteer who would take these over to Reverend Kendyl? These are full of gratitude and drawings and congratulations and well wishes on your retirement. And thank you, and we love you so much. Let's see. And now it is time to go to our Sunday school classes. Will you please join me downstairs in the children's chapel?
I was thrilled to be invited to be part of this morning's service in honor of Reverend Kendyl's retirement and in the company of all our honored guests and my colleagues. All Souls is my home congregation. I was ordained here, and now that I'm retired, I've come back home. To introduce today's offering feels like a special privilege for me because the recipient is the minister's discretionary fund. This is a dedicated fund available at the discretion of our minister for certain sorts of expenses, allowing our church to live at its mission by responding to often unforeseeable needs that arise outside our budget. For example, All Souls might contribute to a request from a community organization to offer assistance in the event of a crisis. As one of the caring religious organizations within this city, we can occasionally say yes to requests by needy individuals in the form of gift cards for food or emergency transportation or some warm clothing. And the fund might cover expenses of one-time programming materials such as, for example, the upcoming trans inclusion course, which is very important. All of which supports All Souls ministry to the larger community, never more needed than it is right now. But in asking you to give generously to the minister's discretionary fund, I want to focus on the way it allows us to minister to each other as the beloved, caring community that we are. The money available in this fund allows our minister to respond confidentially when emergency needs arise in our individual lives, which they inevitably do. Now, how do I say this gently? My experience as a Unitarian Universalist for 35 years now is that though we officially acknowledge our interdependency, sometimes a greater unspoken value is our self-sufficiency. Right? We give generously, but we're hesitant sometimes to receive. I think in reality, though, we know that each and every one of us is vulnerable to the random stuff life throws at all human beings. And this is a bad time to be vulnerable. In an era when the worship of outright cruelty is fast becoming the American nightmare, cruelty which is actually being justified by deriding empathy as weak and irrational. Empathy, which according to Elon Musk is the fundamental weakness of Western civilization. But not here, not here. Here we remind each other that in the face of all of that, no one of us is alone, which is true spiritually, of course, we know, but also because we give generously to our minister's discretionary fund, so it will be here to help us help each other through our tough times. And not only am I asking you to please give generously to keep our fund replenished and available, but also not to hesitate to talk with Reverend Aaron in confidence when you're needing that help. So in celebration of the knowledge that each of us is precious and worthy, the offering will now be given and gratefully received.
Good morning. I am the most recent past president of the Board of Trustees. My name is Bonnie Postlethwaite, and it's my pleasure to do the board recognition of Reverend Kendyl Gibbons today. 5 years ago, on Memorial Day weekend in May 2020, we celebrated Reverend Kendyl's 40th anniversary of her ordination. As celebrations go, it was unlike anything anyone at the time had ever planned. We were 2.5 months into the lockdown of the COVID pandemic. So how do you celebrate anything in isolation? As a congregation, we shared in our community virtually, moving to virtual Sunday services, virtual Sunday plus lunches of to-go meals. Meetings were all on Zoom. But as the rest of the world was learning, we could be together outdoors with proper social distancing and masks. So the board at that time decided that it was too important of a celebration to wave it away just because of a pandemic. So they planned a drive-by celebration. While Kendyl and Mark stood under the shade of a tent, we all lined up in our cars over at the Kemper parking lot to create a parade of congregants to drive through the church parking lot, each in our own turn, pausing to congratulate Reverend Kendyl out of our car windows. Much waving and honking occurred as we were all excited to see one another in person, even if socially distanced in our cars. It was a perfect spring day, and the joy on Reverend Kendyl's face was radiant. Kendyl wrote a thank you note in the June Flame after the celebration of her 40th anniversary of her ordination. I'd like to read some of it to you. I loved seeing many real live people, even with masks on in cars. I look forward to theaters and restaurants opening so that I can use the wonderful gift certificate from the board as well. I can't tell you how much I miss the energy of our Sunday mornings together. It is not possible in the nature of things for every moment of 40 years to be pure happiness, but I know that each of those moments brought me here to you and brought us together to this celebration of my work and our ministry together. And I know that it has all been worth more than I could have imagined in the beginning. Well, Kendyl, it was worth it all to us as well. Today is a joyous day as we gather together to celebrate Reverend Kendyl's illustrious ministry. Here at All Souls, we especially feel the deep connection to our senior minister of the last 13 years, who provided leadership through so many accomplishments, milestones, and challenges. We have had the privilege of her wisdom, care, guidance, and spiritual leadership. Thank you. Due to both COVID and her stroke, the board was never able to give Reverend Kendyl that wonderful gift certificate for season tickets to the theater. However, it has not been forgotten. The board is delighted to be able to finally give her those theater tickets. Kendyl, we know you'll enjoy the shows.
The Double Root by John Holmes. Ready with meaning in the pulpit of today, this morning on my face and both hands light, the book before me and the ritual bright, I wonder how in God's name I can say in any church to any one of my kind, gathered and hushed and willing for the word, the tree, the tree's law. The truth I heard when I was dark, a root, and deep and blind. But you are near me. You are my people. You know what it is to sodden a season through. How should I lead you, though you charge me to? Yet listen to me, I have learned a thing to do. We grow, we grope with a few unfolding leaves upward and opening towards the sun that draws whatever green we are and drives roots opening downward toward the single source, sun under, sun over earth, one law, one force, be in your earth, and there be well begun. Climb in the dark. All ground is open door to open sky. Break through, reach up the air to air above, and there green yourself round planets as roots on deep-struck rock are wound. Grown tree, boughs big, under leaf, fruit found. Our second reading is The Essentials of Humanism by Reverend Dr. Kendyl Gibbons. Humanism summons us to gratitude because that is how we become most fully human. To live well is to live with intelligence and integrity, with justice and compassion, with wholeness and beauty, and finally, inevitably, with thanks and praise for all that is our fragile, tragic, precious life.
Many windows, one light, many waters, one sea, all lifted hearts are free.
In the Talmud of the Jewish tradition, the sage Hillel says, "What is hateful to you, do not do to others. This is the whole of the law." All the rest is commentary. In the Hindu legend of the Mahabharata, the divine Krishna declared, "This is the sum of duty. Do nothing unto others which would cause you pain if done to you." It is written, it is taught. May it be so.
Many windows, one light, many waters, one sea, all lifted hearts are free.
Now, in the Gospel of Matthew and the Christian scriptures, the Messiah Jesus says, "Whatever you wish that others would do to you, do so to them." In the Buddhist text of the Udana Varga, the student is urged, hurt not others in ways that you yourself would find hurtful. It is written, it is taught. May it be so.
Many windows, one light, many waters, one sea. All lifted hearts are free.
Church, in the Muslim Hadith of Al-Nawawi, the Prophet Muhammad proclaims, "No one of you is a believer until he desires for his brother and his sister that which he desires for himself." In the Tai Shang treatise of Taoism, the seeker is instructed, regard your neighbor's gain as your gain, and your neighbor's loss as your own loss. And of course, we know it is written. We know it is taught. Thus, may it be so. Ancient wisdom of Shinto, there is a saying, the heart of the person before you is a mirror. See there your own form. The Oglala Lakota spiritual leader Black Elk wrote, all things are relatives. What we do to everything, we do to ourselves. So my friends, my church, my beloved community, once again, we know it is written, it is taught. Thus, may it be so.
Thank you. That took my breath away, I have to say. Isn't it wonderful to be here soaking in the beauty that Kendyl's given us all through music for these years? It's a blessing to be here with you. O tempora, O mores. These are words reportedly spoken by Cicero, the Roman statesman, for the first time around 70 BC. Roughly translated, they mean, oh, the times, oh, the customs. It's an exclamation of despair used to express his concern and criticism about the decline of morals and the state of affairs in Rome. Most famously, Cicero spoke these words in 63 BC of Catilina, a Roman aristocrat who plotted to take down the Roman Republic. I tell you, it's good medicine to read his speeches right now. He said in one speech, for instance, "When, O Catilina, do you mean to cease abusing our patience? When is there to be an end of that unbridled audacity of yours swaggering about as it does now? Shame on you! Shame on this age and its principles! Oh, ye immortal gods, where are we? In what city are we living? What constitution is ours?" There is clearly good use for this expression now. Oh, tempora, oh, mores. The first time I encountered the expression, I was a college student. I was typing for work study, and I typed for the college archivist who was writing a history of the college, turning her longhand into a somewhat neatly typed on a typewriter page. When I came to these words, I had difficulty reading her writing, so I took a guess and wrote, "Oh, tempora, oh, Moses." The next time I came to work, she told me what a good laugh she had over my typo. Oh, tempora, oh, Moses, also a useful expression right now. I was too embarrassed to tell her it wasn't a typo. It was my ignorance and a bad guess. But what is true is that "O tempora, O mores" could be uttered by someone with good reason pretty much any year between 70 BC and the present. It's always a time of decayed morals, and they impact someone. Today, I want to think about the time of Kendyl Gibbons' ministry these past 45 years and their context in both U.S. and Unitarian Universalist history. Now, I'm not a historian, so these will be seen from a preacher's eye, born of testimonials from others and my own observations, as I've traversed mostly the same decades. The changes that have occurred in the world and in ministry and in many of our lives are astounding when we look back at the past 45 years. Now, Kendyl knew early in life both her calling to ministry and who her life partner would be throughout her life. With Mark by her side every step of the way, she has ministered in diverse local environments and always been a beacon to the larger movement. Our president, Sophia Betancourt, asked me to please bring her greetings and congratulations to you. As has been mentioned, Kendyl is not only a local star, she is beloved all over Unitarian Universalist and the humanist movement. Kendyl went to Meadville Lombard Seminary right out of college. Jay Atkinson, who was on the committee that accepted her to Meadville, wrote, "I was serving on Meadville Lombard's admissions committee when Kendyl applied for a mission in 1976. As I recall, she had skipped a couple of years in public school and had thus entered college at 16. When she interviewed at Meadville Lombard, we all wondered if a 20-year-old was really ready for the ministry. Needless to say, she went on to allay our doubts and put them spectacularly to shame." So it was that Kendyl graduated from Meadville in 1980 and began her ministry at the same time that Ronald Reagan became president of the United States. Oh, tempora, oh, mores. I could spend my whole time with you making Cicero-style exhortations about Ronald Reagan's presidency, but suffice it to say that Kendyl's ministry began at a time when money to help the vulnerable was being transferred to the wealthiest Americans in that failed experiment known as trickle-down economics. She began her ministry when the Secretary of the Interior, remember this, some of you, believed that Jesus was coming soon, so there was no need to protect the national parks or the earth. When women were forbidden to wear pantsuits to work, and all kinds of other nonsense was going on nationally. And it was also a time within Unitarian Universalism when more women were beginning to enter the ministry. Of course, we're rightfully proud of Olympia Brown, the first woman ordained by anyone anywhere, and it was us, and of the Iowa Sisterhood, ministers who labored around the turn of the 20th century. But somehow that pride in our history did not automatically translate into an easy welcome and open doors for women. Some years ago, I interviewed women, some of them who were ordained before I was. Judith Walker, formerly Judith Walker Riggs, who served this congregation in the late 1980s, described to me the travails she suffered in order to be ordained in the United States. She went to Oxford in 1961 and got a degree and served 2 congregations in England. And when she moved back to the United States, her letters to the ministry department and to the Ministerial Fellowship Committee were simply ignored, never answered. Finally, she ran into the chair of the Ministerial Fellowship Committee, the credentialing body that would need to give her a green light, and he told her, "If we let you in this back door, other women will want to try it too." If Oxford is the back door, she wondered, what is the front door to get in this place? In 1969, she was told, if your husband dies and you have no other way to make a living, we'll try to find something for you. 1969. She said she was devastated by this rejection, and she never would have kept on trying, except for the intervention of David Pohl, who later became the director of the Department of Ministry, who raised money for her to do the necessary steps to finish getting credentialed. She went before the MFC in 1972, and no one had even told her that a letter was put into her ministerial packet signed by 128 male colleagues vouching for her ministry. After she was fully accepted to ministry in 1975, she joined the Ministerial Fellowship Committee, and there she told her history. And when she did, the chair sighed loudly and said, "Oh, we thought you'd be safe to bring." She said, "He probably thought that because I didn't become a man, but I acted like a man." All of the women I interviewed said that what healed them from the bad treatment by the power brokers was the kindness of the individuals who welcomed and helped them. Another woman, Tracy Robinson Harris, described meeting with the Ministerial Fellowship Committee in 1981. She had the great idea that for her sermon, which was part of what you do at this presentation, she would share all of the obstacles she had encountered trying to get ordained. As she spoke, the chair of the committee threw her packet on the floor and stomped out of the room. Needless to say, she did not pass and had to return and try again. So when Kendyl came into ministry in 1980, the culture of ministry was very male. Even though a few other brave women had attended, we've got Diane Miller here, who was in seminary in the early 70s, other women were serving churches. Meadville had no women professors. Kendyl and others began searching for and creating language that described life as they knew it and transcended the rampant sexism of what was currently used. And once the women left that group in seminary, most were going to be faced with situation after situation where they were the only one in the room and where their legitimacy as a minister was consistently challenged in subtle and overt ways. The first ministerial gatherings I attended as a student were dominated by competitive males, bragging and drinking and smoking and basically ignoring the women. One ministerial odyssey, which is a time when a respected elder shares their life story of ministry, featured such a man describing the affair he had had with a parishioner. The few of us in the room who were women looked at one another in horror, but we did not speak. There was a lot of silence. There was also a lot of change happening. One story from Kendyl I love, which I heard from Aaron, is that the male ministers used to smoke cigars at some of the study groups and gatherings and didn't care that the women said it smelled bad and they didn't like it. So a number of women brought nail polish to the next meeting and began applying it, and soon the cigar smoking stopped. Resistance was not always that overt. Many women described painful one-on-one or group conversations with male colleagues where they questioned behaviors and challenged assumptions and inserted new ideas and perspectives and language. Sydney Morris wrote to me, "Every woman I saw from the 1980s on had compromises to make, and every single one advanced the cause a bit at a time, creating an unstoppable movement, drawing in deep, deep roots." An unstoppable movement, indeed. Regarding gender, Unitarian Universalism has experienced a very fast transformation of ministry. I mean, look at the ministers here today. In 1977, 5% of our ministers were women. Around 2000, we passed 50%, and now we're closer to 60%, and we have more trans and non-binary ministers serving congregations every year. This is not true in most religions, and I, for one, am very proud of it. Attending a ministerial gathering last fall, I sat with a female colleague of my vintage, and we shook our heads about the difference in the gatherings. No one is drunk. The people of all genders share their vulnerabilities and fears as well as their pride and successes. The bragging is minimal, the honesty is dominant. There is intimacy. I don't mean to say that everything is fine, and it never will be. There's a great deal of frustration about obstacles still faced in getting to ministry, particularly economic obstacles and issues of accessibility. Just last week, the UUA had a gathering of stakeholders to envision widening the path to ministry. But the culture has changed radically, thanks to the courage and persistence and leadership of women like Kendyl. So that was the 1980s. The 1990s were quite a time as well. The religious right, who had flexed their muscle nationally in electing Ronald Reagan, began much more localized work to take down libraries and schools and museums and theaters by getting elected to local offices. Our congregations got deeply involved in challenging these local takeovers, and I know this congregation was very active then. Homophobia was the central drumbeat of many of those local campaigns, and our congregations got involved with the Welcoming Congregation program to address and resist homophobia. This congregation dove deeply into that work. Bill Clinton's election in 1992, after 12 years of Republican rule, made it clear once again, in case we wondered, that Unitarian Universalist values are actually never on the ballot. While many of our people were happier with his leadership, prison rates exploded, and his intentions to allow gays into the military morphed into policy that was more repressive than before, the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy, which took a really long time to undo. Unlike Ronald Reagan, Clinton was willing to acknowledge the devastating impact of the AIDS epidemic, but the numbers of deaths persisted, along with declarations by right-wing Christians that this was God's punishment for sin. The Defense of Marriage Act passed under Clinton's leadership, and activism in UU congregations escalated around gay rights, especially marriage equality. And so Kendyl ministered along with her colleagues, performing services of union where legal marriage was denied, providing memorial services for people who died from the complications of AIDS, which were loving and affirming and respectful of their lives, writing letters to the editor and speaking out against right-wing takeovers of local government agencies. The 1990s, oh tempora, oh mores. And then the 2000s, the Twin Towers, the war on terror, the war in Iraq and Afghanistan that had no end, the anti-Muslim behavior in the US. UUs were out marching against the war week after week and insisting on compassion and justice for Muslims in local communities. My own kid, I still remember the line, "I hate peace, get me a babysitter," because we were out in the cold week after week at those peace marches. After Unitarian Universalist plaintiffs won the right to marriage equality in Massachusetts in 2003, statewide attacks on marriage equality served as get out the vote for the right wing in state after state. Every 2 years it was a challenge until 31 states had banned marriage equality, and Unitarian Universalists were active in fighting every one of those bans. Barack Obama's election in 2008 led to countless op-eds about how it was proof that we were post-racial America. And indeed, UUs were thrilled, along with many others, to have finally elected a black man to this highest office. We had elected our own first black president in the UUA in 2001 with Bill Sinkford. I should also add that women ran for that office in every UUA presidential election I witnessed beginning in the 1980s and did not win until Susan Frederick Gray was elected in 2017, an election which featured only women candidates who had been advanced by a nominating committee. The 2000s were a time. And in the 2010s, with the advent of cell phones which featured handheld video cameras, documentation of the police violence against black people became an everyday horrible part of the news. In 2014, the murder of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, sparked the beginning of the Black Lives Matter movement locally and nationally. Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism, or BLUE, was one of many organizations founded in the wake of that murder in 2015. And white UUs were newly aware of our responsibility to stop racism, and our congregations became centers of education and action around understanding and resisting white supremacy. I do need to say I'm from Minneapolis. Today is the 5-year anniversary of the brutal televised murder of George Floyd, a mile from my house. And the city hasn't recovered, as I'm sure Ferguson hasn't recovered. And the uprising that came after that, we will never know who all was there. But I will tell you, there were white supremacists, there were military. It was terrifying. It was a terrifying time with so much violence raining down on the community. So we're still going, but we're working at it. And ministers have been central to protesting and getting arrested and being out there in the Black Lives Matter protests and movement. Also in 2015, marriage equality was declared the law of the land by the Supreme Court of the US. And Unitarian Universalists started having huge celebratory parties across the land. And in 2016, the election of an overtly racist and anti-immigrant president made it clear, if anyone had wondered, that we were not, in fact, a post-racial nation. Say it with me, oh tempora, oh mores. That brings us to the decade we're only halfway through, which began with a violent insurrection and a pandemic which shut down the world. A decade which continues to lurch along with daily events we hoped we'd never see in this country and around the world. Unitarian Universalist ministers must summon words and courage over and over to speak into the fear and longing and devastation as the institutions and traditions that have held us, always imperfectly, but have held us, are being destroyed. As always, we as UU seek ways to act, knowing that we are stronger together than alone. Our congregations are providing sanctuary to immigrants and trans people as they are under vicious attack, ministering with families who know they can turn to us because of the decades we have lived through together. I know that I have skirted over almost half a century. I have omitted so much more than I could include. I have drawn out so little of what ministry has actually meant day after day, week after week, year after year. But what decades you have ministered through, Kendyl. Welcoming new members, greeting new babies, helping families say goodbye to loved ones, joining couples in love. You have conjured words when many of us were speechless. You have created liturgy that is beautiful and transformative. You have given your gifts faithfully through all these times. I still remember the first time I saw you. It was the mid-'80s. I saw you across a room. You were facilitating worship at a group of religious professionals who were talking about sexuality. You created a beautiful altar, as you always do, and I had never seen it in a UU church. And it was gorgeous, and you spoke with depth and vulnerability and clarity, and something deep in me that had never been met at a UU church was met. You have done that for so many of us. For this whole time, you have met us, and where we meet is holy ground. As you wrote, to live well is to live with intelligence and integrity, with justice and compassion, with wholeness and beauty, and finally, inevitably, with thanks and praise for all that is our fragile, tragic, precious life. Kendyl, you have lived well, and for this, we are all gathered with our own thanks and praise.
us with the trusted light. Blessed are they whose inward beauty shows the path of truth and right. Honor is their earthly prize. By their work we realize faith calls us on. Faith calls us on. Faith calls us on.
We have shared a radiant tower. When the truth has made us free, and the Spirit's gracious power dreamed of good that yet shall be. Bright the path before us lies. Joyful pilgrims now we rise. Life calls us on. 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 Life calls us on.
We release this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of connection, or the fires of commitment. All these we send forth from this place into the world and carry in our minds and hearts wherever we may go from here. The Reverend Susan Manker Seal reminds us that a benediction is a speaking well of, a blessing of a people or a purpose. Indeed, much of ministry is a benediction, a speaking well of each other and of the world, a blessing of what we value: honesty, love, generosity, forgiveness, trust. A speaking well of our efforts, of our dreams. This is how we celebrate life, through speaking well of it, living our benediction, and becoming as a word well spoken. 45 years ago, on a weekend much like this one, rainy and in a church with a leaking roof, I undertook the traditional ordination vows of our faith tradition, by which I promised, so far as in me lies, worthily to maintain the freedom of the pulpits I shall occupy, to speak the truth in love without obligation to persons or position, diligently to fulfill the several offices of worship, administration, and instruction according to the customs of our fellowship, and in all things to promote piety and righteousness, peace and love. As a newly ordained minister, I concluded the service with these words of benediction, which have remained with me over the decades. There is finally only one thing required of us. That is to take life whole, the bright and dark together, to live the life that is given us with courage and humor and truth. We have such a little moment out of the vastness of time for all our wondering and loving. Therefore, let there be no half-heartedness. Rather, let the soul be ardent in its pain, in its yearning, in its praise. Then shall peace enfold our days, and glory shall not fade from our lives. Friends and colleagues, family, and dearly beloved community, all of you have been essential to the realization of these promises over the eventful nearly half a century since that evening. And my gratitude goes out to each and every one of you for your advice and affectionate support. Ministry only happens in the context of community. This is a feature, not a bug, which is the first thing we learn when we come to the practice of this blessed calling as an essential component of the spiritual path that will take us through the grace and struggle and meaning of our lives. I would speak well of each and all of you who have been my partners in this adventure with great fondness and esteem. I would bless you now in this moment of transition, as you have so often blessed me in moments of bafflement and loss, or of wonder, exhilaration, and discovery. I hope that I have served well the heritage that was entrusted into my hands, and I hope that you will continue to carry it forward in the company of those who will follow me, and eventually follow us as the guardians and servants of the truth that makes us free and the life that eternally calls us on.